welcome everyone. We'd like to thank you for joining us this evening on the NMMI Back to School update for all of our parents and our cadets. We have information we think that will be important to you as you plan your return to school. The way that we'd like to handle this evening is I'm going to go over some of the things that we intend to cover on the call this evening. Then I'd like to introduce those who are helping me with the call this evening. Then I'll come back and go over some things that'll set the stage to get you here. And then each of the participants will cover some things in their area. And then we hope about 25 minutes into the presentation, we'll open that up for questions. We would like to ask that you pay attention, please. If you have questions, jot them down. Hopefully we cover them in the material that we present. But if we haven't, there'll be an opportunity for you to send your questions in. We have members of the NMMI staff that will be fielding those questions, screening them, and sending them to me. So I'll apologize up front if I divert my eyes. I've got another machine where they'll be sending me those questions. We'll get those answered. I'll answer them or direct them back out to the staff to get you the answers you need. So thanks again for joining us this evening. We'll try to keep this to about an hour, but that's really up to you. We are here to get you the answers you need to start the second semester off on a good foot. So let me go over some things we're going to cover in the call this evening. We're going to go over all the back to school dates, times you need to be here, what you'll need to do when you arrive. We're going to go over this back to school protocols like we had in the first semester, the screening, the testing, the time periods waiting on the results of the test. We'll go over all of those things. With me on the call, and they will go over into their respective areas. The athletic director will cover athletics. The academic dean will cover the academic area. The commandant will cover leadership. And the chaplain is here. We've had a lot of questions about the mental health aspects of the semester and how we're going to handle those things. So we'll cover all of those things in each of our individual areas. And then if we haven't answered your questions, we'll open it up for you to come back and feed us those questions to get answers for you. So at this time, I'd like to introduce the folks that are on the call with us this evening that will be making presentations about their areas and then answering questions directly about their areas as they come up. First, we'll introduce General Murray. Doug Murray, our academic dean, is on the call with us this evening. He'll be handling the questions about academics. And anything you have about in the classroom, Doug will be able to answer. Next is Colonel Tom Tate, our commandant. Tom will answer life in the Corps, all of the things about the Corps activities that the cadets will be going through during the semester. Tom will answer. Next is Colonel Jose Barone, the athletic director. Jose will answer about sports, scheduling, practice, how that we'll handle all of these things within the constraints that we have to, as long as those restrictions exist under the COVID health order that we're under here in New Mexico. And as I mentioned, our chaplain, Chaplain Mace, will be here to talk about the mental health aspects of the environment we live in, how we handle those, the opportunities that exist for our cadets to get guidance and counseling if they have that. And for you, the parents, we want to talk to you about the help you can provide us if you detect there's an issue with your cadet, how you can let us know so we can intervene and provide that quality of life for them. So let me go to some of the things that I'm going to give you answers for, hopefully. And so please, again, if you have a pencil and paper, let's start through the things we'd like for you to take notes about. The first are the arrival dates. We have 4 significant arrival dates. All of the cadets, every single cadet, returning and new, have been assigned an arrival date. And I'm going to refer to a couple of things numerous times. One of them is all of the documents that I refer to are on the NMMI website. If you go to nmmi.edu, on the front is the COVID checklist update. Daily, that's there. You click on it. The second bullet on the left are all of the 2021 return to school documents. So one of the things you'll find there are the 4 dates: 4 January, 7 January, 11 January, and 15 January. Every single cadet, I'll repeat that, has been assigned to one of those dates. Now, the reason it's important that you go there and you know when your arrival date is because we are matching cadets and room availability. The protocols that I'll also go over here in just a minute require that everyone be tested and that while we wait on test results, they be placed in a single room. And so we're matching room availability and the number of cadets we can receive and process at a time. So again, please go to the website, see when your cadet is assigned to arrive and make arrangements to be here one of those 4 days. The arrival window is the morning, 8 to noon. The reason again is we need to get the test administered for COVID-19, and then we will send that to the lab that day. The lab is under requirement to return the results to us within 24 to 72 hours. While that is going on, the cadet will be in a room by themselves. That's a requirement by the state of New Mexico, so that they can not expose others if they in fact happen to be positive. So again, 4 dates, 4 January, 7 January, 11 January, and 15 January. 2 dates are important that you know if you're in this category. 4 January is when the regimental staff and cadre will report, so they can be in processed and get ready to receive the Corps. The second date is 11 January. That cast, go to the website. It's there by your cadet number. On those 4 days, it'll tell you when you need to be here. Now, I went over it just a little bit. Let me go over it again in more detail. What will happen when you arrive? You will arrive up on Honor Avenue like we did in the fall. For those new cadets, that is a street here on the campus. You will pull up there. You will be screened for temperature as we did in the fall. And then you will get out and go inside Godfrey Athletic Center where the testing site will be set up. You will do some preliminary in processing to the school at that point, and you will be tested for COVID-19. At that point, you will be assigned a room where you will go for the 24 to 72 hours while we wait on the test results. While you're in there, you'll have access to all the meals, all the things. It's not like you're in isolation and you're not being communicating with anybody or anything. You'll have daily visits, you'll have daily meals 3 times a day, etc. And while we wait on those test results. When the test results come back, obviously one of 2 things are going to happen. If you're positive, you will stay in the room. The CDC, Center for Disease Control guidelines right now are for 10 days of isolation. So the days that you've already been in count. So let's say you've been in there 72 hours, 3 days. You will continue to remain in the room 7 more days. There's no follow-on testing required when you finish the 10-day period. If you are negative, you will come out of the room. You will then be assigned to your permanent room with a roommate. And then we can start regular life in the Corps with you. The Commandant will take charge of each group of cadets as they exit the isolation period once the test results are known. Now, here's something else I want to go over because we dealt with this in the fall semester. If we have some cadets that are positive and you are from the state of New Mexico, you can go home. Only New Mexico. You cannot cross state boundaries and you cannot take people with you. Now, we'll go over this in greater detail. This is the limitations that exist in the state of New Mexico. If you violate that, you're subject to an additional 14-day quarantine period. So only the cadets in New Mexico would be allowed to finish the isolation period at home. And the reason is when they return, they would be in that same criteria that they do not require additional testing. I know that may be confusing. I apologize, but any New Mexico student that tests positive would be able to go home for the remainder of the isolation days. Anyone else will stay here, finish the isolation days, and then enter the Corps of Cadets. Now, let me talk about one other day. It's a very important day, and that day is January 10th. The reason that's important is because all of the cadets that are flying in to Albuquerque will arrive on that day. There'll be 2 buses that are provided by Kings Highway. One bus is strictly for athletes. One bus is for all other cadets who have paid to be picked up by Kings Highway and brought to NMMI. So what will happen when you arrive, you will be screened, not tested, screened. Screening means you will have your temperature taken, your pulse, and your oxygen level taken. If those are fine and you are not symptomatic, then you will be allowed to get on the bus in an assigned seat. And when the bus is full, it will come to NMMI. If you are symptomatic, meaning you have a temperature, your oxygen levels or pulse levels are outside the normal window, we will have a van there that is driven by an NMMI employee, and you will go to that van to make the trip to NMMI. Regardless of whether you're in the bus or the van, as soon as you get here, everyone will be tested immediately for COVID-19 and placed in a room. So those 2 dates are important. The 10th is the date that the buses will go to Albuquerque to pick up the students that fly in, followed by the 11th is the next day when all the rest of the first-year students, the new students, will arrive here. So symptomatic, you'll get in a van. Asymptomatic, no symptoms, you'll get in one of the 2 buses and you'll come to NMMI. So those are the things that I hope you've taken notes on. I'm going to quickly go over them before we bring in the other members of the team to cover their areas. 4 dates, January 4, 7, 11, and 15. Those are the only 4 arrival dates that are authorized. You must come on one of those days that you are assigned. Go to our website, see when you're scheduled to arrive. It's there by cadet number. 8 to 12 is when you need to arrive. The 10th is when the buses will arrive in the flights coming into Albuquerque, and we'll transport you down here. You'll be screened, not tested, but screened. If you are asymptomatic, your temperature's fine, your pulse and oxygen fine, you'll get on the bus and be brought here. If for some reason you're outside the parameters, you'll be getting on a NMMI van and you'll be transported to NMMI, and then you'll be tested. What'll happen when you get here? Everybody's tested immediately. Everybody's assigned a room while we wait on test results. As soon as test results are finished, if you're negative, you'll be moved into the rest of the Corps. You'll be put in your permanent room with a roommate, and the commandant will take charge and the cadre will take charge, and you'll become a member of the Corps. If you're positive, you'll stay in the room for the remainder of the time for 10 days. And then, as I said, those buses will be there on the 10th to bring that group down here. So we'll cover those if we need to again. We'll answer any questions if I haven't been clear about that. And so now let's go into the different functional areas and let them go over what's going on area and answer any, we won't answer questions now. We'll wait till we complete our presentation, and then we'll open it up for questions at the end. So the first is our athletic director, Colonel Jose Barone, is going to go over what's going on in the athletic area. Jose?
Thank you, sir. Good evening. The New Mexico Activities Association made the decision very recently to delay the start of the all sports seasons until February. So no sports will begin until beginning of February, and competitions begin middle of February. We have posted that calendar, the new NMMA calendar, on the NMMI Athletics website, nmmiathletics.com, and that link will be posted in the chat. The college teams, their schedules have been adjusted again on the individual team's website to reflect what is now their scheduled spring seasons, and so those are also available on that same site. And that's how you find out when competitions are. We don't have actual games listed for the high school yet. That's still being worked, but we do have the timelines as to when a sport starts and another one begins. As far as how we're going to handle practices, for our high school teams, they're strictly governed by the NMAA, and we will follow whatever guidance they give us. That is done in close coordination with the state. So whatever the NMAA is authorized to do by the state, they hand down to the schools, and we pass that along to our teams, and that's how they'll be able to do practices. For the college, we will follow all guidelines set forth by the NJCAA and the individual conferences. And of course, overarching is those requirements set forth by the state of New Mexico in the COVID safe practices guidance. So we will have practices and we will have those kinds of team activities, but we will be held by the parameters or under the parameters that those two different groups are under. Thank you, sir.
Jose, thank you. And in summary, our approach is to make sure we get everybody here, get them tested, screened, and involved in the activities here, and then be ready to react as the different hopeful restrictions are lifted and we can actually begin competitive play in our sports areas. The next that will go over his area and the things that are going on there will be the academic dean, Brigadier General Doug Murray. Doug?
Thank you, sir, and good evening, everyone. Two main points I want to make. First of all, the date, 19 January. That's a Tuesday. That will be the first day that we will begin classes here in this new academic year, beginning in January. The second is, and this is probably most important, it distinguishes us. Our classes are going to be conducted in the traditional way. They'll be conducted in place in the classroom. It will be a live learning experience. Now, for the new folks coming in, we welcome you here. And between 19 January, which is the first day of class, and when you arrive on campus, there are three things that will occur from the academic side that will impact you. First is all testing. We will be testing the college students in terms of math. Now, they, based upon ACT scores, they may also be tested for English, and those are for the purposes of placement. For the high school students, they will be tested for math. This is a math placement test. The junior college students will be tested on the 14th of January, and the high school students will be tested on the 15th of January. That's number one. Number two is advising. Advising takes place during this period of time, and the junior college and the high school students will be advising, going and meeting their counselors on the 15th, beginning around the 15th of January. And the third is what we call academic preparation, or the academic academy. And this will be again true for all the new students coming in. And this is going to occur actually online, in that during that period of time that General Grizzle was talking, that you will be quarantined. You will be issued your laptop computers and will be given some instruction on how to use it. And then during that time in which you are quarantined, you will have the opportunity to participate in our overall orientation, or what we call academic academy. This is a period of time in which we show you how to use our technology. We talk about academic integrity, and we give you an overall big picture in terms of what to expect in the learning experience here. So that's what we will be doing during that period of time. I do want to add one footnote. When I mentioned that our primary purpose and our primary mechanisms will be in classroom live teaching. However, we do have some faculty members who, for medical reasons, have to teach from home. And so there will be a few online courses if you're taking a class and it happens to be taught by one of those, and there's just 4 of our faculty that are doing that. You will have.
So Colonel Tate?
Okay, thank you, General. Good evening, everyone. My name's Tom Tate. I just arrived in November. It's a real privilege to be here and to serve at New Mexico Military Institute. What I'm going to do here very briefly is fill in the gaps. The generals communicated several times now, 4, 7, 11, and 15. Okay, well, what's going to happen between 4, 7, 11, and 15? The generals mentioned briefly, but on the 4th, the regimental cadre, are the folks that are responsible for the overall functioning of the Corps, are going to arrive, and another group is going to arrive, and that's going to be the cadre that is going to train our RATs, our recruits at training, that will arrive on the 11th. So these two groups, while they're in quarantine, 7 through 9, 10, while they're in quarantine, they will be training and communicating virtually. And Lieutenant Colonel Gus Garza, for example, over at the Daniels Leadership Center, has all the cadet cadre or trainers that will be conducting training, preparing virtual videos for life in the Corps and just different requirements and different requirements and different little tidbits to facilitate transition into the Corps. So that goes from like 4 to 7, and then there's another group that arrives on the 7th, when we transfer. But then on the 11th, when we have the big 10th, 11th, the big matriculation days, those folks on the regimental staff and the cadre are ready for our new cadets to enter. And what they've done, as I mentioned, is put together YouTube or videos, if you will. And so while they're in quarantine, they'll still be training and working with the cadets. And as soon as they get out of quarantine, then we go face to face with the more traditional training that is commensurate with matriculation and with the transition. And of course, we take that all the way up to the 18th, and then start school on the 19th. So that's basically the plan in a nutshell. But when your cadets, when you enter, you're going to be busy, and I look forward to your arrival.
Thank you, Tom. Let me again try to direct parents and cadets to the documents that cover everything we've said. They're all available on our website, and we really want you to go to those documents and see them. If you go to nmmi.edu, to our front page of our website, there is a banner that covers the COVID dashboard, what is going on at the school in regard to the COVID pandemic. You click on it, and there's some drop-down things that occur. On the left-hand side, the second bullet is all of the current documents for the upcoming semester. So on there, the things we want you to be sure you look at is the back-to-school plan. It's the entire plan for the semester. The academic calendar, every single day that's on the academic calendar. The spring plan, what will happen in the spring plan of the day, from the time they get up till the time they go to school. The matriculation timeline, that's that day from the 4th through the 19th that's going to happen. The matriculation schedule of events, that's the day by day from the 4th to the 19th in the commandant's area of what's going to happen. The athletic schedules are on the athletic website. If you'll go there, those schedules that the athletic director talked about are there. By sport, we don't know by team because that hasn't occurred yet. And then the arrival dates by the cadet with their arrival date and time. Now, one that I talked about, we certainly saved him till last because what his information he's going to give is very, very important. And that's our chaplain, Chaplain Mace, to talk about the mental aspects and the things we've prepared for the cadets. Chaplain Mace.
To spend this time with you and give you this information. I wear essentially a dual hat here. I'm the chaplain and also the director of the Cadet Life Coaching Center. And what that means is myself and we have 2 other certified life coaches on staff that help your cadets, your new cadets or old cadets, overcome challenges based on the strengths that they have and also the resources that we have here, and understanding especially the uniqueness of this COVID-19 environment and what those challenges present. So I want you to feel comfortable that we have folks on staff that is their job, including myself, to help those young men and women through those tough times. If there is additional therapy or counseling that is required, we will work through you as a parents and the cadet, and we can resource that to someone more qualified or someone outside for long-term therapy or counseling. Some of the things we learned, of course, from from last semester, we're continuing to learn and continuing to improve. We're working in a free day, and by free day, it's a day that cadets can sleep in, they can relax, they can engage in some activities every third week. And that free day will begin on Monday, Martin Luther King Day, and continue every third week throughout the semester. Some cadets enjoy that. They're more of an introvert, and it gives them that time. And those that are extroverts will have those activities that coordinating through the commandant's office that allow them some interactions, some games, getting outside and doing some stuff with their friends and those types of things, and just giving them that opportunity to relax for a moment. I want to also let you know your main point of contact, if you have concerns, questions, whether it's in the middle of the day or the middle of the night, will be your cadet's troop leadership advisor. They know the most about your cadet. They're connected to the cadets as they're broken into troops, and we're going to give you those contact information for those folks. So feel comfortable if at any time your cadet is sharing some concerns with you, we may not be aware. Feel free to call that troop leadership advisor and voice those concerns. And of course, myself, one of our life coaches, will respond and get onto that. So, sir, I thank you for this moment of time, and I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, Chaplain. We've periodically through this broadcast been flashing up the contact numbers. We want to do that again. These are the numbers for you, the Commandant's main line, the squadron commanders. They are over the TLAs, our command post, counseling center, the admissions office. All of these numbers and email addresses are available for you 24/7. If you think of questions that we don't cover tomorrow, the next day, these numbers are available to you at any time. And then the new parents, new cadets, as you learn who your TLA, that acronym stands for your Troop Leadership Advisor. Every cadet is assigned to a troop. That's a group of 50 to 70 people. It has an adult leadership advisor over that. And that's your primary point of contact for information about your cadet and what's going on at NMMI. So this slide that's up right now will be shown periodically throughout the rest of the broadcast. So what we'd like to do now is go into that question and answer session. We have a few that were sent in ahead of time we'd like to cover. And then we have a few I'm seeing on my screen that have been sent in, and we'll cover those. And so feel free to send those questions in, and we'll get those covered for you. The first question that was sent in previously was, how will off-campus access be handled? I'd like to handle that one myself. I'm going to answer it in two ways. Once we get the cadets here and we get them screened and inside what we refer to as a secure environment, a clean environment, a safe environment, if you're an NBA fan, they refer to it as their bubble, then we're not going to allow the cadets to leave. It's a very restricted environment. That's why, as the chaplain mentioned, we have free days, we have fun days built in. We're trying to give them that mental health break they need. Our academic schedule, we took out spring break, we took out holidays, and we go straight through from the academic start to the academic end so that we can release them and get them back to you. So once the cadets are inside, tested and screened, they cannot leave. I would also tell the parents and cadets here, every faculty and staff member is tested and screened the same way. So it's a very safe environment inside the NMMI family. We have forward-looking infrared cameras that the cadets will walk through every day and be perpetually screened while they're on this campus. Every faculty and staff member will be screened every morning before they go to their work assignment. So it's a very safe environment. Now, to protect us all that are inside that bubble, we have closed the campus. In the break between semesters, we have literally ringed the campus that was not already secured by fencing. We have now closed off the campus with fencing, gates, remote control gates, to where the campus is completely closed. There will be no access to the campus by outside unless it's a vendor who has a reason to be here. They will make an appointment. They will be met at the primary gate, brought onto the campus to perform their business, and then leave. We started the first semester by allowing outside food vendors to bring food to the cadets. We just can't do that anymore. The surge we saw in the virus during the middle of the first semester was because of an outside source. And so we just can't do that. There'll be no outside interference to the extent we can control it in the second semester. So that's how we're handling off campus. Once the cadets and the faculty are screened, except for the faculty and staff that obviously will go home in the evening. That's why they'll be rescreened every morning when they return. We will not allow unrestricted access to and from. The next question, Commandant, was a pre-question we had, and it's come up again already this evening. So I need you to answer this one. This is coming from returning cadets. When will the rats from last semester turn?
Okay, thank you, General. Yes, this is a major concern of mine, not just without prompting from parents or cadets. Turning signifies the end of the new cadet status. And I was only here 30, 40 days, but I witnessed cadets out doing what they need to do, squaring off the corners, meeting their requirements. It's time for them to turn. And I plan on working with the regimental staff and accomplishing that goal within the first 2 weeks that we get back to campus. The requirements for that turning are on page 19 of the Blue Book, and I'm not going to get into all of that. And we're going to modify as we need to, based on the current environmental and operational conditions, to make sure that we get you folks turned and get you fully integrated into the Corps, and you're no longer new cadets where you should be. And that is a major concern of mine. And I spoke with the leadership about this, at least General Grizzle and some folks before this was raised. So I'm very concerned, and I'm going to do everything. I'm going to be personally involved in getting this requirement satisfied, sir.
All right, Commandant, thank you. The next one is really for the new cadets coming in because they've not been here and need to know the answer to this, but also for the returning cadets. And that is access to food service, laundry, and other services. It's going to be essentially the same as it was when you left. And what that means for the new one, food service in the mess hall will be grab and go. All of the food will be prepackaged. You will go in, get your food. You can leave, take it back to your room. You can take it outside. We have some picnic tables. We have benches. You can sit outside. The point is you cannot have a group gathering. We found that people were using the mess hall as a gathering location. The state health code says no gathering of more than 5. So the Corps itself made the decision to not use the mess hall other than to get your food and to then go outside or to your room. So all meals will be grab and go. Now for new cadets, we have a 4th meal in the evening, and that's usually for after study hall. So you can have a snack before you go to bed, and that will also be in a sack lunch type configuration that will be delivered to you. Laundry and things like your haircuts, you will be able to take your laundry and drop it off. That's paid for as part of your cost to attend NMMI. You drop it off, 2 days later you pick it up, same for your dry cleaning, and the same for your haircuts. All cadets get a haircut once a week, and there is a scheduled time so that, again, we comply with the health code requirements and don't congregate inside the barber shop. So pretty much for the returning cadets, the same as it was when we left in November. The next one, again, it's a mixture answer between new cadets and old cadets. What about sanitizing plans for cadets and inside their rooms and at NMMI? There is instructions in the Blue Book for cadets to clean their own rooms. So if you look in the Blue Book, it will tell you how you clean your rooms for daily room inspection. Also in the shower and latrine areas, we added cleaning supplies and instructions so that cadets help us clean those areas. In the classrooms and the classroom buildings, we have foggers, machines that come in if need be and clean the entire room or an entire building. if need be. And we do that on a rotating basis. So those things will go on a continual basis throughout the campus. Commandant, I'm going to switch this one back to you. Again, it kind of could be a mixture of old and new cadets, but it's asking as a new cadet, what do I bring at NMMI? And I know some of that's in the blue book, but you might expand on that for new cadets.
Okay, for new cadets, you got a packing list from admissions. If you didn't get a packing list from admissions, then you need to contact them immediately, and they'll definitely be here this week, and I think even part of next week. The other thing you need to bring is outside the packing list is parents, cadets. Make sure that your cadets have good athletic shoes. I mean, because will be doing a lot of physical type stuff once they get out of quarantine, and it's just really important that they have some good shoes to be able to function with, because that's I do not want them uncomfortable. I do not want blisters, that type of thing. And we're not going to do extensive physical training, and we're going to be very careful as students come in. But it doesn't take long if you don't have a good fitting pair of shoes to get a blister, get really uncomfortable, something like that. What you can bring and what you cannot bring are, that information is also in the blue book. So, sir, I think that covers it.
Commandant, thank you. I want to show everyone, I brought them to show the parents and the new cadets. We will issue you a series of 4 masks. We all wear masks all the time. We practice wearing the mask and we practice social distancing. The Corps has 4 masks that they'll wear. 3 of them, they wear 2 days. They wear, I don't remember what's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but they will wear one for 2 days. They will wear a second one for 2 days. They will wear a third one for 2 days. They turn them in with their laundry. They get them cleaned. They get them back. And the white one is for Sunday. We will give the cadets those masks. The whole Corps will wear the same mask at the same time, so we can track and make sure that they're wearing the mask. And then they will practice social distancing. So you don't need to worry about bringing masks. You can bring extra ones if you want to. And you can bring things like extra sanitizing, hand sanitizers if you want. But the basic issue of things that you will receive from us or that you should bring for yourself is in the blue book. A couple of questions that have come across on my other screen that I want to cover is what happens if they have a flight delay that's not within their control and they don't get there between 8 and noon on any of the arrival days. We have a contract with a company called Blue Sky Transportation. We will make that number available and they will be there to bring you to NMMI. Again, this information can be made available on our website and your TLA will have the information. So if a flight delay occurs through no fault of your own, at no cost to you, Blue Sky Transportation will bring you to NMMI. Let me answer this one for everybody as well. How do the cadets handle outside medical appointments while they're here? So the question I'm sure came up after I talked about not leaving that protective bubble. The way we've handled those is the cadet will go to the infirmary and let them know that they have a medical appointment, whether that's whatever that is, dental, eye, doctor, whatever, and they will make that appointment through our infirmary. Again, we have drivers of our own, or we will use Blue Sky. We will transport the cadet to the appointment. If they're a minor, we will have someone go with them, wait for the appointment, and bring them back. So it'll be taken care of, and that's the way it'll be taken care of. Another one that I want to talk about is we have a second level of testing that we didn't have before. We have our own rapid test machines now. We did not have those in the first semester. So if we have anyone that appears symptomatic, and I used that term earlier, that means anyone that has a temperature or their pulse or oxygen levels are outside parameters, we have the ability now to test them with the rapid test machine. It's an antigen test, and it will tell us yes or no. If it is a positive, then we will follow that with a full test for COVID-19. We didn't have that in the first semester. That's why we immediately tested everybody a second time 5 days later. But with us having this antigen test of our own, we're being able to avoid that second test. Let me go back to a question that's here. Jose, I'm going to give this one to you. And folks, I apologize. They seem to be hopping around. I'm trying to respond to them as the questions come in. But Jose, the question is, will our games be televised if we can't be there to watch our athletes on campus?
Yes, the answer is we will make every attempt to stream as many events as possible while there are no fans allowed. And in fact, we'll make every attempt to stream events whether we're locked down or not. I think that's the trend we're taking. So as far as home events, yes, and we'll do our best again to maybe even do some away events. But the short answer is we will stream as many events as our capabilities will allow.
And let me expand on that answer. That goes for our major events, that if we cannot open them up to the public, to our families, we will live stream them. We did this for our graduation, for our commissioning, for our ring ceremony where we gave our graduates their class rings. We will be able to live stream any of those events so that our families can participate in those. Here's a question that I'll be glad to answer. Who will be paying for the test that I've been talking about, the COVID-19 test? NMMI will be paying for that. We have contracted with a lab, and we will incur that expense on behalf of NMMI. Here's one again, I'll answer. Will NMMI be coordinating with the New Mexico government and federal government when the vaccine becomes available in the spring? How would this be administered? We're in hopes that we're hearing that the education environment is going to be high on the list for the vaccine, and that the vaccine would be available at no cost to us. We realize that for some religious and some legal reasons, we can't make it mandatory, but it will certainly be our intent to make it available and suggest that every cadet get vaccinated so that we have the ability to lift some of these restrictions. As the vaccine becomes available, we're going to make it available to the Corps just as fast as we can, as it's available to us. The New Mexico Department of Health will control that and control getting the vaccine to us as fast as possible. I really don't have much more of an answer than that, other than we believe that the vaccine there will be no cost to it. We believe that the education environment will be high on the list to get the vaccine, and that it will be our position to make it available to all cadets and our employees and staff as fast as possible, and encourage them to take it to the extent we can without violating any religious or legal issues. Let me check just a minute. Let's see where we are on the questions. Okay, here's one again, Commandant. Will the rats be allowed to use washers and dryers, or will they be forced to use only the laundry service?
Well, I honestly, we're gonna do whatever we think is best on that one. I mean, I'm gonna look at the situation, and because I'm not really sure what they were allowed to do last semester. But we're gonna do whatever makes sense, and I'll ensure that there's, you know, that it's well done and satisfied. So I just I wouldn't concern myself right now with that, and we'll make sure that they get what they need, and I'll work closely with Lieutenant Colonel Garza on that, who's overseeing the rats, and we're gonna make sure that they have serviceable clothes for each day of training as we move through the semester, sir.
Let me maybe add to that a little bit for the new parents. We have washers and dryers in a common laundry, if you will, for a backup. We have a contract with a commercial laundry. The cadets take their laundry there, drop it off. They have laundry bags. And as I mentioned earlier, they'll get that returned to them 2 days later. We teach them, we coach them to manage their time to do that so that they're not burdened with having to go to the laundry and do their laundry when they forget to do that. So the laundry that we have, the washers and dryers are there. They're there for backup only. We don't encourage them to try to rely on those things, but they are there and they are available for backup. Here's one. Will there be a homecoming or final ball? Again, we're not planning on a homecoming in the second semester. And the reason is we just don't know if the state will allow us to have that large gathering of people. Same with a final ball. Right now, the restrictions are we cannot have that large a gathering of our cadets in one place at one time. If those restrictions are lifted, then the answer would absolutely be yes, we want our cadets to enjoy a final ball as part of their cadet experience here. But we're limited by what happened and what restrictions we have to abide by the state of New Mexico. Now, if we jump all the way to the next fall, we believe that we'll be back into regular operations. But this coming spring, we just don't know. We're prepared to do all of the things that we're allowed to do by the health order that we have to abide by within the state of New Mexico. Let's see what is the procedure if the quick test is positive, but the other test is negative. I'm going to ask the athletic director to help me. And the reason is our athletic director is come up from the athletic side through the training and medical side, and we rely on his expertise in that area. So Jose, what happens if the quick test is positive, but the full test is negative?
If that is the case, the PCR test or the gold standard test will be the results that we will accept. So typically, if you're positive on and this is more recent guidance, if you're positive on the antigen test, most of the time you won't get a follow-up test. It's when you're negative with symptoms that you'll get the second PCR test. But the short answer is PCR supersedes the antigen test.
Thank you. Okay, Dean, I've got one that I was rereading it to make sure I understood the question. So this is in your area, Dean. When will first semester cadets on academic suspension be advised of their status?
We are in the process now. The suspense dates in the letter that went out. We had two different mailings, one when based on those folks coming back, since we have 4 different dates for folks coming back. For those coming back, the first 2 dates, we've got the letters have been out, and we're now receiving information who are asking for appeals. In that group, you'll be hearing, well, by the end of this week. And as far as those that are in the second batch, that'll again be within the first week or so after we come back.
Okay, thank you, Dean. This is one that I can answer, and the commandant can help me if I don't get it all answered correctly. Will there be movie nights? I know the commandant just met this week with Ms. Treat, our protocol officer, to talk about cadet activities. And I hate to use a canned answer, but a lot of these things are totally dependent upon what we're allowed to do by the state limitations. But Colonel Tate, I know you talked about all these things this week with Ms. Treat. What things have you got planned?
Well, sir, we're going to use social distancing, but we plan on having movie nights. And yesterday I met with Ms. Treat, as you know, for those who don't know, it's a student activities director. And I also met with the TLAs, and we discussed some of the things that occurred last semester. And then we're looking at some of the things and following up with those once again, but also having some virtual type things like a virtual uh, hypnotist and a virtual games, and of course more of the traditional type stuff like a kickball, disc golf, cornhole tournaments, those types of things. So especially with us, in a bubble, or at least that's the intent. Um, we realize just how important this is to quality of life and overall cadet life, and so we're looking at a lot of different options, and one of them that we plan to implement is movie night, sir.
All right, thank you. And Chaplain, I'm going to lean on you as well. We had that conversation as well about cadet activities and the involvement that you're looking at. Can you add something to that?
Oh, absolutely, sir, and thank you. Cadet activities, and for the old cadets, we have the activities fair, and there's a number of activities that take place on campus, everything from our chess club or ham radio club to fencing, to the cultural clubs like the Pacific Islander Club. And there's no intent or plan to change any of those activities. Again, we're within restrictions that we're given, but at this point in time, those activities will continue, along with what Colonel Tate just mentioned, looking at even additional things to keep the cadets engaged, to improve that quality of life, to so that they have something going on. They're stuck in a bubble. Maybe they feel like they're stuck in a bubble, but it's just not stuck. There's things here to do. There's fun things here to do, and we're being proactive on preparing, planning, and setting those things up. So, sir, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, Chaplain, thank you. Question is, will RATS be on campus in the fall of 2021? Absolutely. In the spring, let me answer that first. This coming spring in January, we've had a very good recruiting cycle, and we could have as many as 80 or 85 new RATS here come January 11th when they show up. So we're very excited about the recruiting effort that's gone on. And then in August of 2021, when we start that school year, we expect a full complement, close to 500 RATS, as we've had almost every year. So yes, we believe come the fall, after everyone has been vaccinated, that we're back to regular operations. Are roommates required to wear masks and social distance in the barracks? Yes, you are. And one thing you are not allowed to do is go from room to room and visit each other. That caused some of our problems this past year. I know it's difficult. You want to visit your friends, you want to talk to them, but you cannot go and roam from room to room to room visiting. You must remain in your rooms, and you must practice social distancing and wearing of your masks. We hope that the state will relax some of these restrictions as more and more is learned about the virus and more is done with the vaccine to get all of us vaccinated. But in the interim, we must comply with the state of New Mexico restrictions that are out there. Let's see, hopefully the state of New Mexico will relax restrictions this spring. We hope so. We were in hopes that once we created this safety umbrella, this safety bubble, that we would get some restrictions inside that bubble. It just didn't happen. We still had to comply with the same restrictions as everyone in the state of New Mexico. Right now, we expect that to be the same case. We expect to start January 4th, the same way we ended. Practicing social distancing, all wearing masks. Right now, the restrictions are large gatherings of no more than 5. And so we expect to do that. The other thing is, in all honesty, that's pretty much what's going on across the United States. So we're not asking much of our cadets that they wouldn't be doing if they were in their home state or home city. The other thing that I offer to parents and cadets about that is something I hope you picked up on as we've talked about this. When you come here, the comfort is every single cadet is tested multiple times and screened daily. Every cadet, every staff and faculty member is tested and screened. It's not like that if you go stand in line at Walmart or Home Depot, you have no idea. Anybody around you is tested or screened, and the vulnerability you have by standing in that line. That's not the case when you're here. We're providing the safest comfort we can for our staff and faculty and our cadets. And so we'll comply with all the state requirements, but we know that we're trying to provide the safest comfort we can for parents, cadets, staff, and faculty when they're here on the NMMI campus. Here's, along with that line, how will families be notified of NMMI restriction changes? We have tried to notify in numerous ways. I'm come back to what the chaplain said. The number one point of contact is the TLA. The TLA will be immediately notifying, but I personally have been sending out weekly updates all through the COVID crisis. We'll continue to have a level of communication with you directly. Parents, all support groups, we communicate directly with you through the parent e-newsletter, through our resources we have available. We will send you immediate information as it turns and transpires regarding the COVID virus. Will confirmation classes continue on Sundays after Catholic Mass? Chaplain, Chaplain's given a thumbs up. I'll let him go ahead and answer that.
And I'll just answer overall, there is no intent, and right now there's no restrictions for us to change or adjust any of the religious services or activities that were occurring last semester. So those services on Sunday will continue and confirmation class will continue. There's already a schedule out next semester. So yes, as of now, no intent to change.
Jose, this one's back in your area, and this is an interesting one because, as we know, here in the state, golf courses are open. We have a golf course. It's allowed to open for business and play. So how does that affect the golf team? Can they play and practice golf? You're muted, Jose.
Thank you, sir. So the high school will adhere to NMMA rules and regulations period. There is no deviation from that. The golf period of time is not till later in the semester. So hopefully by then we'll have a lot more ability to practice. The college team, we will follow exactly what the conference and NJCAA will allow. We will also follow the guidance of the New Mexico Safe Practices guidelines for intercollegiate sports. And my belief is that if we can keep social distance and safe, we probably have some practices, but we'll have to get that vetted. Golf is probably in the best position anyway to have bona fide practices more than any other team.
Thank you, Jose. We're about to finish all the questions that I see over here. I want to go over just a few things. Again, as you arrive in Albuquerque, if the bus is not there, if you miss something, Blue Sky Transportation will be available for you to get here. We'll make that contact available to you. Please use the numbers. We're going to put those back up right now. The contact numbers are there. If you have any questions that we've not covered, don't hesitate to call. These numbers are available. The command post number is a 24/7 number. The admissions, the counseling center numbers are day numbers. People are there during the day. Where you're there for you, we want you to get these answers. The email addresses are there. Most of them are very easy. They're simply our last name at nmmi.edu. So please reach out to us if you have any questions. We appreciate you being with us this evening. We've taken an hour of your time, and we very, very much appreciate you providing us that opportunity to share this information with you. We look forward to seeing you and your cadets on the 4th, the 7th, the 11th, and the 15th. And to the extent that we can lift these restrictions as they're allowed to be lifted by the state of New Mexico, we look forward to welcoming you to the NMMI campus. So thank you for this evening's time.